Hey, it's me, Hatstack Mike. And if you've been watching my videos, you probably noticed that I tend to show off a lot of retro games from my collection. Well, for this video, I'll be talking all about retro game collecting and whether or not it's worth going after copies of these old games. Anyone who's looked up prices from those old games from their childhood has probably realized that buying these games has become quite expensive, especially for those more rare titles that didn't have as many copies produced. I have some rare-ish games in my collection that I can flex, but let me just say that for pretty much all of these, I would not own them if I didn't get them around the time of their release, or before retro game prices got really high at least. So, is it worth paying these crazy prices for these games? Well, let's look at some alternatives first. Game compilations have become pretty widespread, so you might want to look into those first, because there's a good chance that an old game you love is on one of those, with the convenience of playing it on current generation hardware. In some cases, there are even improvements made to the games. And downgrades as well. Yeah, I'm still not over that Ice Cap Zone music change in Sonic Origins. Another more obvious method is going for a subscription service like Nintendo Switch Online or PlayStation Plus. I've heard that NSO has slight emulation issues here and there, so if you're going to be bothered by games not necessarily being 100% accurate, then this might not be the way to go for you. I myself haven't really noticed anything though, and I enjoy playing games this way when I want to play some classics on my Switch. Plus it has all the bells and whistles like save states and the rewind feature, which I talked about in my last video about game difficulty. I'll still judge you a bit if you're someone who rewinds a game after every mistake, but hey, you're free to play these games however you'd like. Speaking of emulation, there are a lot of emulation devices out there that can also give you that nostalgic experience you're looking for. I've even covered some of them on my channel previously. A very popular one is the Raspberry Pi with RetroPie. I have one of these myself, and yeah, it's really cool and a great way to play these old games. You can even get USB controllers that are replicas of the original console controllers that you used to play these games back in the day. For the record, I do think there's nothing quite like playing the game on real hardware, using the official controllers, but this is pretty damn close. But let's say you don't want to go the emulation route, and you want to play your old favorites on authentic hardware. Well, I do have another recommendation, for certain games at least. Especially when it comes to consoles like the Sega Saturn, I'd maybe look into importing Japanese versions of games. Like, look at this price for the US version of Burning Rangers. Holy shit! But I got the Japanese version for a pretty reasonable price. Although this is a bad example because this game has a lot of dialogue and I couldn't understand what was going on, but a better example would be Panzer Dragoon 2 here. Super expensive for the US version, but not too bad for the import copy here, and I can play it just fine. I can give a crap ton of other examples, but yeah, importing might be something that you might want to look into. If none of these options are a way you want to go though, then back to the original question. Is retro game collecting worth it? Well, first, depending on what you're looking for, it's not all bad news at least. Mainstream hits like Super Mario Bros. And Sonic 2 are still fairly cheap and easy to find. So for games like these, I say it's absolutely worth it. Other games though, not so much in my opinion. There's this NES game called Fire and Ice that I used to love playing as a little kid. I never owned it, but I played it through renting it and playing it at other people's houses. But if I get to thinking, hey, it would be nice to own that game I loved as a child, and look it up to buy, then oh no, dear lord no. Yeah, I'm just gonna stick to playing this one on Nintendo Switch Online. I don't need to play it on original hardware that badly. But if you do want to stick with playing games on their original hardware, and don't want to deal with those insane prices, there is one other factor that I haven't brought up yet, and that's repros. Repros, or reproductions, are newly reproduced copies of old games that run on original hardware and function just like the originals. Repros are maybe a bit of a touchy subject among collectors, but here are my thoughts about them. If all you want to do is play the game and you don't care about the collector's value or having an authentic version or anything like that, then I say they're a good way to go. They're much more affordable than buying the real thing, and makes these games more accessible to more people, so I think that's a good thing. Also worth noting is that I picked up some repros of ROM hacks that let me play these games on my actual Genesis system, so that's pretty cool. The only problem I have with repros is when people try to sell them as authentic originals for inflated prices, which unfortunately does happen, and that's no good. So yeah, when it comes down to it, as much as I love these old classic games, I personally don't think that a lot of them are worth the prices that they're currently going for. If you're someone who is into collecting these old games, and can justify the cost for having these classics as part of your collection, then I can respect the hell out of that. Just know that whenever I'm showing off games from my collection, I wouldn't expect any of you to buy any of these games at their current prices, because I definitely wouldn't. Well, I think that covers just about everything that I wanted to say about this topic. Let me know what you think though. Are you someone that still thinks it's worth buying these old classic games, even at their high prices? Are you good with just sticking with other methods of playing these games? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a hat-stacking good day.